3 is the future.
Welcome, crew, to What Are Your 3, a Channel 3 podcast where we take a member of the Channel 3 community, discuss 3 games of their choosing, go through some honorable mentions, and some other odds and ends for a nice little video game discussion. I am Dan. With me, as always, Ray.
What is going on, everybody? Tonight's guest, you can find him on Twitch, you can find him on YouTube, you can find him on Channel 3. It is mikboy018. Mikboy, how you doing tonight?
Good. How y'all doing?
We are doing good. We've got a list of games. I'm excited about this list of games here. I want to get into it. Dan, you got something to say, or am I going to get into this list here? Dan looks like he had something to say.
No,
we're good.
I'm always pleased with
Dan's just excited. Dan's excited about this list
I'm
too.
good. I'm happy things are moving, and it's always we have not. While we have fallen into the length of a podcast episode going along, we've not fallen into the 45 minutes before we actually get on topic podcast hole. So I'm happy about that.
That's true. All right, we're pretty direct, right? I'll go off topic and say this is the first one where I have four monitors going. This is being recorded on the day that I bought all the screens, so I'm gonna put that out there. I got a new chair as well. Chair was like $25. There was a gaming store that shut down. They were like, "Please take our stuff." I was like, "Boom!" So today is a good day. Now let's get into the games. Game 1, Rise of the Triad: Dark War. Let me tell you, I saw this game and I'm like, "All right, what is it? I've never heard this one. Let me go look this one up." And I was like, "Oh, it's Doom." And I was like, "Wait, hold on a second. No. There's magic though. This is a magical game." And then I looked through it like, no. This is a sequel to Wolfenstein 3D that became its own game. And I'm like, what is going on here? So tell us, Rise of the Triad: Dark War. Tell us, why are we starting here? How does this game go in?
I mean, so the games I have on my list are my top 3 games. I can't choose between any one of them. They're all my favorite. This one was one of the first ones I had kind of regular access to. It was originally supposed to be the sequel to Wolf 3D. I think licensing for the naming was pulled or something like that, and then it ended up the team just was still having fun with it. And you can tell when you go to play the game, they were having fun. There's Easter eggs everywhere. There's just crazy weapons, and it's a very good extension of what Wolfenstein 3D was, because you actually have jump pads. You can go vertical. You can ride around on little platforms, lots of puzzle elements. Great game. You can even pick different players and have who have different stats. Kind of early for its time. Random level generator. Let's see, what else did it have? 11-player multiplayer, which I don't know if I would have been able to pull that up.
Let me tell you, you are running down my question list here. Let's. You're hitting everything that I was like. Everything you're saying is I was looking through the game. I'm like, this is amazing. Let's start with this whole. You can choose from 5 characters. That to me, that feels really unheard of in 94.
Yeah.
That seems
Not
unheard of.
FPS country for sure.
No, right? You have a first person shooter, and they're like, by the way, we have it set that you could play because it's first person. It's just the guns in front of you, and you're just moving and shooting. But you could have different stats. That seems wild in 1994 to have that in a PC game.
Oh yeah. I always played as the last one, Ian Paul Freely. IP Freely is what his name abbreviates to. He was a little bit slower, had good health. You usually trading health and speed between each of the characters. That was just always the one I chose. And just all the extra modes with it. I was really disappointed when they did a re-release in 2023. It was very faithful, and it works everywhere. I've played it on Steam Deck. I've played it on my main computer. But it didn't have co-op. If that game had co-op, man, that would have been perfect.
It seems weird that they didn't put that, right? Because it's on Steam. Everyone can get it. They just basically made it better graphics, right? It's pretty much the same game, right?
Yeah, it is. But they did a pretty good job of staying true. And I think they did a new episode. I haven't played through the new episode yet. And I still haven't played through the remaster that I bought last year. Mainly because that last boss just gets me every time. I don't know if either of you have ever played through the game. There's some secrets to that last boss that are just diabolical.
No, Diabolical is GOG.com. Like
What do
because
you-
they're selling this for 77 cents right now.
That's right.
Really?
It's much more expensive on Steam too. Steam's like $7 right now.
Well, I'm looking
Right.
at the original. Well, see, they have the original. Like that's the thing with GOG that I'm coming to appreciate more. That they have the OG versions of games, including
has
this
it.
being they have the 1994 original Rise of the Triad for 77 cents right now in glorious 94 PC graphics.
It's still going to run well. They have it in DOSBox, so and that lives everywhere. So you're still going to have a lot of fun with that. It's just not going to have all the polish, and gamepad support is really nice to have too for that sort of game because you don't really aim. It's really a top-down shooter where they just change the rendering.
Yeah,
scheme.
just look forward.
So
Yeah.
it's just which I prefer sometimes with first-person shooters. I don't want to aim. I just want to blow things up.
So did you take advantage of multiplayer back when this game was happening? Did you?
No.
I was saying, did you have 11 people to play with?
No, but the fact that you even supported it, I don't think even Doom did that much.
No, I'm saying that the 11 seems. I mean, it might as well be a million people.
Right.
I'm trying to understand how things didn't explode. Because it's not like it's multiplayer. It's multiplayer and different game modes.
Yeah, Capture the Flag was one of them. It was like probably one of the first games to have Capture the Flag as a first-person shooter.
That's what I'm thinking because I always think I feel like I always feel like Halo, and I have a very old game like on the GameCube that I forget the name of it, but it had like the colors of like 4 teams and stuff, and I think of that as like, wow, this is like an old thing. And then you told me back in 1994 they were already doing team deathmatch and whatnot in this game. It seems so ahead.
Yeah. There's a lot of extra stuff in this game. The random level generator that comes with it is superb. They have even like kind of master mode levels. They're just ridiculously hard. Extreme Ride, I think it was called. I've never played through those. I tend to game on easy mode. So.
Do you have like a favorite weapon as you go through? Because you have what, like 13 weapons. We got bullets, missiles, and magic weapons. The magic part threw me. I saw that. I was like, that's actually amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, the dark staff.
Yeah,
that one's cool. It's between the drunk missile and the Excalibur. Now the drunk missile's kind of neat because it's just 5 heat seekers. You just shoot, and 5 heat seekers shoot off in different directions. They'll hit, a pot of fire that's kind of lighting up the room, and
right.
Or they'll go after enemies. And the Excalibur's neat because you can just swing it, and you don't use up any ammunition when you swing it, and you can knock people off the map, or just send them flying, or you can hold on to it, and it'll launch an array of just explosive baseballs in every direction. It's just
there's something really satisfying about a baseball bat in a game. I mean, it's just like Fortnite just put a baseball bat in. And it's been a couple like 2 days, and I'm having so much fun. I don't even know if it's actually that good of a weapon.
It's just disrespectful. That's all.
Yeah,
it's not about being a good weapon. It's just the level of disrespect that it gives people.
The fact that I can hold a home run, kind of charge it, run with it, and just like whack something. Like there's something really great about a baseball bat.
And your move afterwards, like one step off of a bat toss too. Like that's the thing. Like
you stare at it.
Yeah,
you stare at it too. And I'm seeing this bat in green flames. I'm looking at an image of it.
It glows green. It's a Louisville Slugger, and you just hold it, and then boom, everything just explodes.
Absolutely amazing. So, how many times do you think you've played through this game? Because it's the game kind of at a time, right? You go around the level, you find the keys, finish the level, get a few bosses. How many times do you think you've been through this one?
From beginning to end, probably only a couple times. I usually will just go back and hop through a level I missed playing. It also has a jukebox mode. If you have I think the new version, you don't have to enter the cheat code, but in the original, the 70-cent GOG version right now, you can enter a cheat code, and it'll bring you to a music menu. You can pick your own song, and then you enter another one, pick your own map, and just go to town with it. You get all the starter weapons at every level anyways. It's pretty flexible that way. I tend to visit the bosses more often than not. Those are more fun because they're just kind of over the top. You'll have a robot shooting mines in every direction at you randomly, just zipping around all through it's complete chaos.
Yeah, I mean, this is one if people want to go back and kind of play a game at a time. I mean, it look obviously it's got the same look, and I keep thinking about Doom because that's just the one I know off the top of my head. But it's got its own look to it.
Hmm.
There's some real care as I look kind of through screenshots of somebody. There's some real care that was put into this game. It feels like a real like nice historical artifact at the time that you should go back and try out.
If you look at the footage, of like how they like some of the back roll footage of how they like made the game, they actually just digitized like pictures of people, and they had them
Mhm.
on like a rotating platform in a pose, and they'd take pictures at certain angles and digitize it, kind of like what they did with like the 3D graphics of Donkey Kong Country, right?
Right.
Um, and
That's a good call. That's the same year too.
yeah, that was the same year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So they did that, and it was a lot of work, but they had people in makeup and really neat. Like it's like they spared no expense.
Mhm.
Because this, like the gaming scene back, like the game development scene back then was kind of closer to like what indie games do now. It was just a shareware model, right? They had
Yep.
one episode that they distribute, on a disc, for free, and you'd buy the remaining episodes. And if you do like the music from like Doom and stuff, it's I think some of the same artists, right? Bobby Prince supporting Lee Jackson. Amazing, amazing soundtrack.
This will be by Apogee Software, Apogee Entertainment. That's the publisher for this one.
Yep.
I'll mention that because we'll come back to them.
No, they're back. They're
Another neat
yeah.
thing that I looked at, I was like, oh wait, we're talking about the same developer more than once tonight, which is very cool.
Yeah, LucasArts and Apogee own the day.
There's a theme. There's a theme here.
My gaming in the 90s.
Let me tell you, I didn't see when I first saw the list. I was like, man, there's a lot of different things happening here. And then when I'm sitting down and doing research, I was like, no, there isn't. No, there isn't. We're actually is a very cohesive list.
No, there's one. We're going to get to that, but there is one aberration on this list, and we'll get there. But the aforementioned LucasArts comes in and enters the chat with one of the worst or most complicated naming convention games of the 90s with Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, because this was the sequel to Star Wars Dark Forces, which was part of the Star Wars Jedi Knight series. So rather than just saying, hey, we're going to go with one or the other, let's just give it all the names. And again, you have that same FPS first-person shooter vibes, but this time in Star Wars.
Yeah, they and they continued the crazy naming when they made Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. And then they gave up when they made a follow-on that said, "Oh, this is just Jedi Academy."
Yeah, but then Jedi Academy had something else. There's something else with the Jedi Academy. There's a weird one in there too, somewhere. There's something.
Yeah.
Or maybe just me putting the search terms into Channel 3 that I had to put like 3 different sets in because I'm like, someone may be searching for Jedi Knight when they mean Jedi Academy. I don't know.
Yeah, well, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast.
I may have put like Jedi Knight 3, Jedi Academy, and had to put like 7 aberrations in because if that ever hits enhance, and we have a day like Foam Stars today or no, I'm sorry, it was the Lego Star Wars 3, the Clone Wars yesterday that people were losing their minds over. That's what it was.
See, that one was to me that one was fine to me. Once I kind of saw it, but the Foam Stars today. Ooh,
I planted that seed 2 weeks
rough.
ago. I planted that seed 2 weeks ago with trivia. You all can shut up.
You think I'm paying attention to trivia answers every day?
It was Square's attempt and Square and Sony trying to take down Splatoon.
Oh, okay? That's what that was. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, now you got to pay attention. Yeah,
that's a tough cover.
Yeah, because it was just the response collectively today should really tell Square and Sony how their efforts have gone with this game. They continue to try to keep on life support. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2.
That's right.
I didn't say the Star Wars. I'm sorry. We're here to talk about Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. Go on, McBoy.
Yeah, so this was another one, big one. This was probably the first game I really played online back in the days of the MSN Gaming Zone, where I use the handle I still use today. So that's kind of an homage to nearly 30 years ago now.
MSN Gaming Zone, yes.
Yep. Yeah, I had friends on there I would hop on and play with. A lot of great memories. Fun story though. this was one of the first really full 3D first-person shooters I ever played. And so I didn't know any better. I aimed with the number pad and moved with WASD, and I could beat the game on hard mode, as a lighter dark Jedi. It wasn't until like a year or so after getting the game I picked up Half-Life and actually looked at the control schemes and saw, hey, maybe you should aim with a mouse, and it was a game changer. Like as good as I was at the game, even in MSN Gaming Zone, I was like, wow, I'm much better at this now. It's less clunky.
And thus, elitist wars were started.
Yeah.
With a simple, hey, maybe you should try the mouse for this FPS.
Yeah, right. Also, there was no primary fire. I wasn't even aware of that because the way the control scheme worked, I only knew of secondary fire. I was just hitting the Z button over and over again.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's a good, challenging way to play the game. I don't recommend it. The other things about this game that really got me, it was kind of one of the first things I ever tried to mod. It had a huge modding community. A couple of the websites are still around today, like masazi.net. You can go get mods for it. The source code for the engine's been lost, but people still manage to go in and kind of hack their way into the game and update like vertex count limits and stuff like that, so you can get like higher polygon models. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with like what the 3D characters look like in the game, but their heads are square. These mods,
just for anybody who's not familiar, it's N64 graphics stage.
Pretty much, yeah. It's so yeah, you go through, you get that into the cinematics of the game. Like we only had the first trilogy when this came out, so this was kind of like almost another Star Wars movie with the way the opening scene happens, and you have that Rebel Corvette just rolling through the air, being chased by a Star Destroyer. It's like, oh man, that was nostalgia for a lot of people, I think, even back then.
It's weird that you pointed out that way because it was 16 years in between. Now this was gearing up for, I mean, at this point you were also before the remasters and the special effects changes and all that stuff too. But like you think about the TIE Fighter days and the X-Wing days of like, I'm in here now, let's go. And I don't know how many different games I've done the trench run in throughout the 90s, but there were plenty of them for sure. And yeah, it was like, oh, there's never going to be more Star Wars. This is what it is. And,
yep. It even had some Easter eggs. Max from Sam and Max has an appearance, if you know where to look, and he holds a stormtrooper blaster and he will shoot everything, much like you would expect that character. Let's see what else. The cinematic.
Did you play any of the other Star Wars games, or was this just like?
So TIE Fighter was actually the first PC game I bought with my own money as a kid. That almost ended up on the honorable mentions list. I was choosing between some things.
Shout out to the first self purchase. There you go.
Yeah. I was a huge Star Wars fan. I had Rebel Assault 2, Jedi Knight, Mysteries of the Sith, Dark Forces. I'm a video game collector, so now I pretty much got them all. Any of the old LucasArts point and click adventures were up my alley. So pretty much any of them I have, and I've played through. Save for Knights of the Old Republic. I have not worked through those yet. Those are on the backlog. I will get through them one day.
Smeagol throws his phone somewhere in the corner. There's somewhere.
I will get through it one day.
There's somewhere that you know what? Those are, if you want today, go to Epic on your phone. Those are free with Epic on your phone right now.
I saw that.
If you don't have them, I was like, there's somewhere I just saw they're free. Where is it? It's Epic, but only on your phone is it free. But I don't know if it adds it to your general software. I know they're trying to drive people to just not only add your free games on your PC, but add your free games on your phone too. So
yeah,
but you can add both 1 and 2 on there now for free.
Steam had a sale a long time ago, and I think I picked them up for a couple bucks each. And I started it, but I never drove through it. I also picked up the first one for Xbox, so I've restored my old Xbox and kind of tempted to play throughout that on a big CRT.
Do it that way. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think so. Just because you have that big controller, the big old Xbox controller on a CRT, kind of hard to beat.
Yep, you gotta make that happen. Yeah, I'm looking now. I'm like, no, it didn't add those to my. That stinks. Come on, guys. You got to make that not on my phone. I don't want to play that with touchscreen.
Right?
They better have Bluetooth controller support. I'll hook a PlayStation controller up to my phone.
How would you even do that game touchscreen?
You can.
Touchscreen.
Smeagol has done it on the iPad, I believe. Like it's
wow.
Yeah, they just put the controls on the screen. It's not like touchscreen for the menu, but you get like a left joystick, right joystick, and buttons on the screen that you have to touch. It's terrible. Ray is just shaking.
It's torture. My God, just any touchscreen where it's like we wanted you to have an analog stick. It almost should be banned. It's so close.
PlayStation's not bad for the remote play with it because wherever you touch, it then becomes where the stick is located. Like you don't have to hit the exact spot.
No, it's still not okay. Let me tell you, that's my big gripe with Brawl Stars. The fact that they don't enable any sort of controller play on their game. But if I play the game on my PC by emulating a phone, I can play it with a controller. Like it just doesn't make any sense. It's unacceptable.
I can't wait till I finally go back and I extract the gifs I need to from podcast episodes because Ray just like before he had already unmuted before he got to his tirade there and was uncontrollably shaking his head for about 30 seconds before he went on that tirade. But anyway, Dark Forces 2 still floating out there too. That's the thing. Like these games are all just floating out there for you to try. And again, like you said though, it's one of those things like they were making their own stories, they were doing their own thing here. This was like the multiple games into a series of games there, and like you got to have a lightsaber now because there were also like the Dark Forces games you didn't have. You had your blaster games that were just like, okay, we're gonna do your first person shooter, skin Star Wars onto it, and then like, oh, you're getting a lightsaber now, and you're like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. And
force powers.
Yeah, start shoving stormtroopers off
And the force powers you pick actually affect the ending of the game. That was kind of the other thing. Is like your choices throughout the game affect the end result.
How many? That was one of my questions. How many times did you play through this thing?
I lost count. It's been a couple years since I played through it, so it's not been recent. But yeah, I went through every mode, light and dark. Did a few with a good mix of light and dark, but I intend to go either all light or all dark, so you get those extra force powers, the force protection. You get this like protective orb around you. You can't take any damage from, and I love that because I can play kind of sloppy offensively sometimes. So that just makes up for my sloppy play. And then if you go full dark, you get this thing called force destruction, and you just emit this ball of terror at anybody you choose, and it. Yeah, it's overpowered. I love it. But you don't get force heal, which is kind of the trade-off there. So it was always tough.
So did you do the multiplayer much for this one? Again, like you said, this was I think 8-person battles, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 8 sounds about right. Yeah, a lot on the MSN Gaming Zone. I had a few people I'd play regularly with back in the day. We'd hop up a few nights a week. This was high school time for me, like late grade school, early high school.
So nobody was complaining about their ping in Rocket League at that point.
No, we had 56K.
Yeah, you had your dial-up tone into it. That was it.
Middle of a game, mom picks up the phone. You're like,
I need to call you Aunt. Where's gotta be? No. Your third game. We're sticking with LucasArts, and you already touched on the point and click. The Day of the Tentacle. Not the highest of rated games on Channel 3. It's got a 3.9. It's there. So there's some up and downs. But for those unfamiliar, this is actually Maniac Mansion 2. They just, what was this, like 7 years later, something like that. It's like we can't call it Maniac Mansion 2. Just call it Day of the Tentacle.
Which that's an appropriate name.
Yeah, when you have your villain's a giant disembodied tentacle that rewrites the Constitution to make humans slaves, I guess,
right.
You're doing your thing.
It's perfectly normal story. Mad Scientist has this, as any mad scientist should, has a toxic waste producing machine that dumps into a river. The purple tentacle drinks from it, sprouts little arms, becomes evil, tries to take over the world. Some friends and the mad scientists try to band together to stop him.
And in case
funny
anybody's
game.
wondering,
Yeah,
the
like
folks at
what-
Lucas
what-
Games, they're all okay. They are all okay. I promise. They're
Yeah.
Like,
all
like
healthy.
what don't you get? Normal game. Like
It's-
what part of this is not clear?
Yeah, one of the tentacles took over. What do you want?
Yeah, the graphic style, it reminded me of like a 90s Nickelodeon cartoon.
Yes.
Funny writing. If you ever feel the need to harass, George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, this is your game. Because one of the guys ends up going back in time, and some of the dialogue you can get into with them, it's just so funny. That's why that game is on the list. 'Cause there's a lot of humor in the writing. Very well done. The music's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so like in the 90s you had Maxis that had like the various simulations and kind of like sophisticated games. Sierra had the highfalutin point and click games, again like an era of sophistication. And LucasArts was just like a bunch of deranged Caltech people that were just like cracking jokes and making goofy animations. And I'm not saying it's bad, like again, just a legendary run in the 90s. It's just one of them.
Well, one of the things they did so well, like this game looked really good for being something in the early 90s, and it ran on a 286 or a 386. Like, how many games could kind of match that? You had nice color graphics, you had voiceover, you had great music. They kind of had the market there. The artists were second to none. Like, if you figure out what they did with games like Loom, with like an EGA color palette and the dithering they apply and the gorgeous backdrops, LucasArts knew what they were doing.
Did this one did it just stick with you? Is that why?
Yeah. Every year I'll go through and just play through it from beginning to end. If you know what you're doing, you can probably do it all in about 2.5, 3 hours and still get a few laughs out of it without taking too many shortcuts.
Yeah, get like just silly laughs and just like wordplay jokes and some stuff that like you probably go through on a playthrough now. You're like, I didn't get that joke as a kid.
Yeah.
Like stuff that like some stuff are like just inappropriate, or some stuff that they're just like, oh, they use like a $5 word here that I didn't know the meaning of. I did not know the meaning of this at the time. And
yeah,
and they went for it.
Yeah, it's really the writing I think that got me the most, though. The story was, it's out there, but it's funny.
Yeah, again, as emphasized, the giant disembodied single tentacle taking over the world and time travel, and yeah.
And you can play it on Steam for $15.
The remaster is really good,
Yeah.
and you can go back to the classic graphics, so that's kind of nice too. All of those Scum game remasters were amazing. Monkey Island, the Monkey Island 2. And the cool thing about that is you can go to the retro graphics and still have the talkie, because the original Monkey Island games didn't have the voiceovers. So you can actually get kind of the best of both worlds. You get the good graphics, the classic ones, and you get people like good voice acting with it, which I enjoy. I don't always like to read when I play.
And it's funny because when they made that game, they probably don't have as many things to it. But now if you go, like if you look at the Steam bundle, there's like a $290 bundle for games by this dads, like Psychonauts by them and Brutal Legend and The Cave, and
wow, that's all over the place. I thought you were going to
a
tell me it's like
game
a
called-
$200 like LucasArts 90s,
no,
click pack. Like,
this is the Double Fine bundle. I can't
Cool.
tell you exactly what the point of that name
listen,
is.
you had me at Brutal Legend in the mix.
We got
there, 'cause
Psychonauts, Brutal Legend, Costume Quest, Stacking, Hack and Slash. The game is just called Hack and Slash. I mean, Broken Age, Grim Fandango Remastered. There is stuff here.
Ooh.
We got Headlander, Full Throttle, Psychonauts 2, and all that for the 23% discounted price of $291.
That's a wish list. That's no. We can do better than that. We can do better.
Soundtracks included, by the way, and all that.
Oh man,
I had to put in my age to actually see the bundle. So that's all there.
I still have Brutal Legend on the PS3. I gotta break that.
It's all here.
I've never played through it. I have it on PC. It's on the backlog.
There. All right, we'll go to the honorable mentions, not game 3Ds. Sure, flying. We are flying here. Honorable mention number 1 is Tyrion, which we're back to Aperture Games. And I have to, again, I'm just relating things to what I know. I saw it and I was like, oh, it's Raiden, except I could play it at home on my PC now instead of pouring quarters at the arcade.
Yeah, this was probably the second shoot 'em up style game I ever played. Apogee did Raptor as well because it was kind of a similar
Okay.
sort of
Yep.
game.
Hmm.
Tyrion, there's something about the music, lots of secrets, tons of humor in the writing. There's a theme with me. I tend to like that stuff. Great soundtrack. It took me. I love the graphics. I love the gameplay. You can play through it hundreds of times and hit different secret levels every time. Always a challenge. Let's see. The configuration options too. You can go through and play in arcade mode to where it'll just drop you random new weapons as you play through the game, and it can progress, and it'll make sure you draw a bad one every now and then, and you're stuck kind of fighting through a few hard levels with a weak weapon. So I tend to play the story mode where you can kind of customize your ship, and you get all sorts of different ships. If you know the right cheat codes, you can unlock a carrot ship that shoots bananas. Totally normal things. Um, so much fun. It has, like any of the other games, it has, a mode around the holidays, Christmas mode. So anytime in December, I think if the game picks up the calendar date is December, it's going to say activate Christmas, and you hit yes or no, and then you get a nice Christmas palette and all that fun stuff. You start shooting candy canes, and there's a lot of graphical glitches with that, but it's still enjoyable around the holidays.
Hey, you bring up the music, and I'm looking up the composers. One of them is Alexander Brandon, who also made music for Unreal Tournament and DSX. So
Yeah,
you were talking about a guy who obviously was talented and ready to put out some stuff. And apparently
yeah.
also did voice acting in Skyrim, the one of the other most timeless games at this point.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
I did.
knew about Unreal Tournament. That was about it.
He was Alexander Brandon, one of the composers, voiced Ancano and Amand Motier. For anyone that actually knows the character names in Skyrim, I wouldn't.
Was
But that's
that the guy who
what
took the arrow to the knee?
I wouldn't even know. If it was, it'd be pretty impressive.
They all did.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that the point? That's why nobody
Yeah.
adventures. You're the only one that adventures at that point.
Yeah.
And so do you ever turn? You talked about. I want to talk about this too because you talked about how you play your vertical shooters
Yeah.
every once in a while. Which ones do you do that on your PC?
Oh, so there is the FPGA. I have a Mr. FPGA tied to it, so you can get some of the old ones that'll have that Taito mode, I think it's called,
Okay.
and those will run on there. I haven't
And
done it recently. I think 1942 worked pretty well on it. Yeah, those styles. I haven't done it in a long time, actually. I need to fire that up again.
How often? Because we talk about these are the games that you're growing up on. This is childhood. And so is this something? Do you just keep playing these games today? Is it like this was just the style of game you like, and obviously just so many new games and different ways they're played, but you just go back and really enjoy playing this kind of top down style?
Oh yeah, I go back and play all these games periodically. I think the longest that I think it's been a couple years since I played through Dark Forces 2, and that's kind of abnormal, mainly because there's been so many good new games coming out, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to keep up with the backlog. When I bought a Switch, that kind of hurt things.
Mm.
There's
I
so many
think if
good
it
games.
helps, I
Every
think Dark
Masters.
Forces 2 is on the Switch.
Oh, is it?
I think it
Oh,
they put a
wow.
bunch of those 90s Star Wars games on there.
They put a lot of things on the
Oh,
Switch.
I
I'm
didn't
pretty
know
sure it's
that
on
one
there. I gotta
was.
look.
Then the other, let's see. I know Jedi Academy is because that's my son might be named after Kyle Katarn's apprentice.
Oh,
My wife did not realize.
I apologize. Dark Forces is on there,
and Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast.
Yeah, but not that. That's why I got them confused.
I think that's because they lost the source code to that one. Yeah, because that engine, it was originally built from the Dark Forces engine, and then they made a game called Outlaws in between, and then extended it even further to do full 3D with the characters and stuff.
Well, Reddit has its theories, none of which are based in fact. So there's that. I need to go wash my computer now that I accidentally opened Reddit up. Excuse me.
Yeah, I tend to go back and play all these games pretty regularly. Just not a full playthrough, but just kind of fire up for nostalgic purposes. I gotta show my wife I'm actually playing the games I buy, right?
No, yeah, I hear you.
All right, well let's go to your next honorable mention. Famed. It was a combination point and click and first person shooter. Famed for the PC, Punch Out featuring Mr. Dream. I believe. I think I
Mike Tyson
intentionally. I intentionally screwed up every part of that. No, it was specifically. I loved it. I'm here for it. It was explicitly called out. Of like, no, we're not going to mess around here. It's just honorable to Mike
Mr.
Tyson's
Dream.
Punch Out. Yeah, no Mr. Dream here. Mr. Dream is not welcome. But you broke the mold. Wait, what happened here? I kept looking like was Punch Out on the PC and I didn't know it. What happened?
No. I this was one of the few Nintendo games I had as a kid. Probably the only really grindy game I ever really got into before I found Rocket League. I never actually beat Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson and Rocket League. That's an amazing.
Well, you have to.
That's an amazing connection. I love it though.
You got to really practice that. It's like the Souls games. Like you got to know what the bosses are gonna do, or maybe just be better at Souls games than me. I don't know. It's tough. I'm starting to pick it up again. That's kind of why it made the list. Like maybe one day I'll finally beat Mike Tyson. I can reliably get to him, but I just can't get his timing down right.
Well, yeah, like there are people tell you like, there's something about a camera flash in the crowd. Like I have never beaten Mike Tyson. I can get to Mike Tyson pretty handily, even still, and I'm still traumatized by the day that Brian McGinnis, when he was running Thursday Night Triple Dares in a psychotic effort, said just like we put the Mike Tyson code out there and said whoever can beat Mike Tyson gets a tagline or gets like XP or whatever, and like. I don't know if I made it more than 3 seconds because I need to ramp up to even feel like I have a shot at fighting Mike Tyson. And like you just drive me in the middle of that, it's like 3 punches and I'm dead.
I start from the beginning every time.
You have to. You have to ramp up to it.
Yeah. And if I know I'm having a good night, if I knock Bald Bull out every time, he's the one that always messed me up because I'd always screw up his timing for that bull charge or whatever that's called, where he does those little mini jumps and then knocks you out.
Yeah, Mr. Sandman. Mr. Sandman was the one that like gave me nightmares as a kid from beating me so bad. I felt like Bald Bull. I could take both Bald Bulls no problem, but Mr. Sandman was the one that I'm like, oh my god, this guy is haunting my dreams.
Well, because you got to hit him in the gut. You can't just keep hitting him in the face like everybody else. There's always like some gotcha. Soda Popinski. Soda Popinski threw me off because I always had to dodge right as opposed to dodge left.
I was fine with that. I could always wreck him. I always felt good with him, but now it's Mr. It's Mr. Sandman, like whatever.
Once I learned him, I was fine, but it took me a little while.
So you're back into this now, though.
Yeah, slowly getting back into it. I have an old Famicom with the disc thing hooked up to a small CRT. Every now and then I'll go down for about an hour and just kind of play around with it, and
take a run.
Yep, one day I'll get there.
Just ready. It's just the grind. Is it just the grind that gets it to you? You just feel like a nostalgia hit. Like
I love the gameplay. Like how many other games are really like that you can go play? I mean, they've made a few clones over the years, some other boxing style games, but it's very arcadey. It's funny, right? You got some pretty funny characters in there. Maybe it's
I'm trying to think
too, but
I'm trying to think of what game's really gone after this avenue, because even like the boxing games went with the dual stick routes and like moving your arms and things like that. Has anybody really stuck to and we always talk about like today, even the Quest like push towards NFL Blitz and whatnot, but what was like Wii's Punch Out was still tied to the motion controls. So like
you still move them that.
Yeah, I don't know what like. Is there anything that's even gone near this territory aside from some obscure indie that like I'm sure Brian will say like, "You should have known about this one, Dan." And I'll hear from him about that.
I have that one. They sent it to me.
Yeah.
It's a good game too.
Good times. Well, your third game, it's okay. Everybody, it's okay. You can breathe now. We're going back to the 90s.
Go back to normal.
We've moved. We fell back to 1995 with the original Command and Conquer. I didn't want to ask for clarification then, but like
yes, the original, mainly because that's the one one of the first games I had bought.
Thank God I was worried there was like a gas leak or something like with the Mike Tyson Punch Out thing. It got weird in here. Yes. Real time RTS, real time strategy time. So
yeah, Yeah, I had a lot of fun hours, especially in some of the early levels where you just take your time, build up a huge force just to go swamp Nod's bases. Um, Easily a mission that can be beaten in 15 minutes. I would take hours on just to build up as many units as I can because unlike Age of Empires, it didn't have a unit limit. You could just storm
Yeah,
everything. And
whatever,
it was so
whatever you
much fun.
could get the supplies for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as long as you had supplies, you were set. Um, so much fun. And with the remaster they did with that, I don't know, I can't remember. Oh, it was the original developers, I think, went back and did a remaster. Me and my buddies still kind of go back and play that online every now and then. We bounce between like that and Cram Champions and stuff like that. So that's always been kind of fun.
Yeah,
Works really well on Steam Deck too.
Yes, because they built it. So they built it pretty effectively. It's almost like 13 years ago now. They did it. Oh, they did a Steam version in March of 2024. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and it's great.
New.
They did high def graphics mode, which I actually do prefer over the old pixel stuff that they had. That's kind of one of the exceptions.
Well,
They
that's
remastered
a
all the
tough part. Like some
cutscenes.
of those things, you need the CRT lines to
Yeah,
look correct.
yeah.
And you have games that like they'll add the CRT lines, but it still doesn't feel right. But so you're still dabbling with this, huh?
Oh yeah, we have me and the three buddies every now and then, probably about once a month or once every couple months, we'll fire this up along with maybe some Unreal Tournament or Crab Champions.
So this is another one that, like, you kind of see where some of these games come from one to another, but Command and Conquer started its whole own trend. Like, did you just go into the store and be like, hey, what's new, what's going on? Or was this like, did you get a PC mag that, like, they sent the discs, they sent the demos, they sent stuff to, like, hey, try this out and give this a shot. They had those in the whatever various PC store name you had locally that was probably owned by the same company. That they all had 10. You looked at the bag, it had 10 names for the same company. But how did you wander into this?
I was just pure curiosity. I never tried anything like it before. I wanted to try something new. I saw the back of it. I was like, wow, this is kind of different. You have little units on a field. Yeah, sure. But you get a soundtrack like that, which always hooks me. The cutscenes are almost hilarious. It's like a B movie. Sort of.
Like, this was an early. Well, I mean, like, Wing Commander had Mark Hamill in it early, and like I know Malcolm McDowell had a hard life, and he was in a lot of like those 90 PC games. And Command and Conquer like had Tim Curry just like go full ham at one point, like for Red Alert or one of those ones. Was it Red Alert 2? He was
James
in
Earl Jones too. Yeah.
Like these games are out here, and when you're talking about like some of the digitizing stuff earlier when you were going through Rise of the Triad, I was thinking like PC games, they were doing stuff that like, oh no, we built this cheesy soap opera set that we brought in like a top tier actor for to come give to come do like a day and a half in a ridiculous costume we made that's here for it. And Command and Conquer was on the front lines of those things.
Oh yeah. And you got a nice double dose of it if you jumped into Red Alert because you knew the game mechanics, enough of the game mechanics to get by, but you had a whole new fun story to mess with.
Yeah, I don't think there was a whole lot different besides like we're getting Tim Curry cutscenes where he's going nuts.
Some might argue that it's actually all one storyline because Kane did make an appearance in Red Alert, but I'm not sure if that was canon or not.
All right, so we look forward to the future now. I mean, we're going way into the future after hanging out in the '90s this whole time here. It is Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, I watched when they did the Xbox Direct, and they said, "Hey, by the way, you have a shield and there's a chainsaw on it," and I was like, "You don't even have to tell me anything else. That's okay. I'm ready."
I have absolute trust in that studio to make a Doom game. Doom,
the cosplay community's been going nuts since that.
Oh, I bet. What they did with Doom in 2016 was amazing, and then Super Mario Doom to follow it was amazing. Like
that's not right. That's
there's fireball, like an array of fireball that rotates, and you jump around and you try to avoid it's Super Mario Doom.
I love it.
It was amazing too. So much fun playing those games, and they're so well optimized. Like they'll run on any older hardware for the most part. Like anything within the last decade, you're probably going to get something playable out of, which I love that. It's more accessible to people.
I do like that this is it's a prequel to both those games that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I'm
There's
curious to
prequels,
see what they go there. Yeah.
prequel story wise, so I won't feel bad if I don't make it through because I'm on Doom 3 right now, which is clearly so different than the rest of these Doom games. But I am enjoying playing it for the first time, and maybe I'm hoping to at least get through like 2016 before this one comes out. That's my goal.
Yeah, I never got through 3. It was more of a horror game, and I don't.
It is more of a
Yeah,
horror game. It's completely different, but I'm so deep into it already.
really
And
good
it's
jump
not that
scares.
long a game. I just have to sit down and do it. Like I'm just playing a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you this. You may if you don't have any opinion on it, it's fine. This is a Game Pass day one. I mean, Xbox coming out with this, and then they have the new Ninja Gaiden coming out Game Pass day one, and it's like what's the strategy here? I mean, these look like these are big games. And they're just saying, "Hey, if you're subscribed to us, here you go play it, and don't even worry about it." What's the strategy here with like, can we make money like this? Is this sustainable in any way?
I mean, if they're getting more money a month off the subscription model, I have a lot of big box PC games behind me. I like to own my games, so I'm not particularly a huge fan of. I do like the short term benefit, like hey, I can go play something for a month,
Right. Yeah.
turn it off, and I'm good. But I never do. Uh, so maybe that's their strategy. They're getting me to pay for a year when I only intended to pay for a couple months, and it's working. I don't know.
I guess so. Dan, you got any thoughts on that? Like, I mean, it just feels like you need a lot of subscriptions to make anything of this. I know Microsoft could print money, but still,
I'm in a place where listen,
I'm very. Listen. I'm not going to be upset when May 13th comes and I play this game without thinking twice about it.
The thing for me is like, I mean, I don't do the Xbox Game Pass or anything like that. They are branching out that they can make money off of us PlayStation or PC exclusive people, like whatever. But I'm also like PlayStation suckered me in, like, oh, I dropped my PlayStation subscription tier down, and like, no, for $10 we'll put you back up in the top for the rest of the year for like the next 10 months. And I'm like, oh, fine, whatever. Which is also good for when my son's like, oh, I just beat every Ratchet and Clank game there is. I need something else to go to. And I'm like, well, here, pull the app up on my phone and just tell me what you want to download here. That'll work. Like it's great for us, but it's like, I don't know, it's been a weird year for video games, and like Bethesda's not going anywhere. At least that's the thing. Like Microsoft can't shut Bethesda down, but they're going to shut down like 3 other hi-fi rush studios to pay for Doom the Dark Ages and whatever it is they do there. By that accounting, they're not, they never made money off of the hardware for the Xboxes. Economics are weird, man. Like I've taken economics classes. I've taken accounting classes. I'm fully versed in business class. None of this makes any sense. And like, what it is, right? Here's what I'm going to say. As I'm watching like everything that's happened the last couple of months with video games, and like this conversation goes there, this is like when E.T. put the death knell, the final nail in Atari, and like things crashed and Nintendo rose from the ashes. Like we're at that point. We're at the ET point where right now there's a bunch of small video game studios that are being buried in a desert that'll be found in 20 years by some random guy with a video camera. But like, yeah, we're in that 80s bubble popping era. It's weird, man.
From the ashes comes the Nintendo Switch 2. Right on schedule with the Nintendo. Anyway, I'm excited to play as the giant tank with a chainsaw shield. That's where
It's just gonna be so much fun.
It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good. I'm ready for it.
Oh yeah.
Well, Mick Boy, we have reached the point of the podcast where we go to a question from the Channel 3 history books, where we ask you a question from the past, and we ask you, what Pokemon type are you weakest against if you were a Pokemon?
Definitely grass. I have the worst allergies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I also never really pick Bulbasaur. Like, I love that, red, yellow, blue. I never pick Bulbasaur. Every now and then I'll get Squirtle, but I'm a Charmander guy.
Yeah, it's I gotta say I didn't look at the actual percentages, but we certainly have fallen into a category in Channel 3, falling into just like the generic nerd category of we're all, you go ahead, you drop some pollen allergens around us, and we will all be
Yep.
devastated and immediately wasted. And I will say, let's take a look
It was
here
the majority.
real quick.
It's the majority. 15.
Yeah,
50% highest number.
It's not,
Not majority. Not majority. Sorry, I apologize. Not the
No, well,
majority.
yeah, it is the highest percentage.
Highest chosen one was grass type. I'm in there.
Yeah,
I think that too.
It goes 15% grass, 13% ice, 10% fire, and there were a lot of responses to this too. And poison and fire were tied, followed by water.
The ice in second place. That was surprising. I did not read through and see the rationale for. Is it just cold?
It was a lot of Texans. That's all. Say, yeah. There's a lot of Texans who dislike the cold.
I'll say you could probably add me in as grass / ice as weakness for same reasons. It snowed here in South Carolina for the first time in 7 years, and I was kind of beside myself after the second day of it. I was like, tired of this. I am surprised. Ice.
It's been a rough winter.
It's definitely been a weird one for sure. All right, last question we ask everybody: what's your favorite feature here on Channel 3?
Probably Target. I will never hit 0 pixels. I'll hit 1 a lot, but the variety of maps you have, it's fun. Especially since what was it, a year ago, I think you expanded into a whole lot more games.
Yeah,
that one's really probably my favorite overall.
Yeah, I got to get Fallout New Vegas in there. I know that. Like, I got my PlayStation 3 hooked up that I can get screenshots for it now, but I'm like, I just gotta hunker down and just go get a bunch of shots. And like, there's other games like I just need to get shots of these games in.
Well, in a few months, Video Game Book Club will be doing the Ori series, and I've purchased it on Steam now. So when that happens, it's those pictures are gonna get revitalized. Much easier than trying to take them off my Switch, which is just such a headache all the time.
April 2nd, we better hear something from you, Nintendo, that makes us feel better.
Switch, please. Like, I don't even care if it's like we'll email the pictures to you. That's fine, as long as I don't have to do it myself. If I just hit a button, my email is already connected to my Nintendo account. You could just do that. That would be more than enough for me. Please don't make me scan a QR code.
Has anyone ever gotten like the feedback request from Nintendo? Like they see you're playing a game, and they ask, what your thoughts were about it. I got it once when I played Super Mario RPG. It was like, oh, you're actually asking for my feedback.
Was you really? I don't think I've ever got one of those, Dan.
I may have complained that they didn't have Channel 3 integration, and I gave them a referral link. So
go big or go home. I respect it.
Right? Yeah, go for it. Oh man, there's right there. On that note, we've made it to the end of another 183 podcast. Thank you, McBoy, for being with us. You can find the podcast at c3.gg/podcast, dropping every Wednesday morning at 3:33 a.m. Eastern on all the major platforms, including Spotify, YouTube Music, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Ray. Dan puts this all together. Our theme song is by Caster Garden, and for our executive producer, Joel Willis. Have a good day, everybody.
Channel 3 is the future.